Alright, yacht brokers, have you ever had that lead that was super interested? He seemed like he was qualified, he's going to buy or sell with you, but then last minute they just go cold, they don't end up replying, and they just ghost you completely? I'm pretty sure we've all been in that situation before, we've all had leads like that, but today I want to show how we combat that and make sure that rate of going cold is very low. Before that though, who are we and why should you even listen to me? With 365 Yachts, we partner with brokers/brokerages and we basically help them get more buyers or sellers through the door. Now this is one of our clients, just one out of the many we're currently working with, and over the last 3 months we were able to get 681 opportunities through the door. Now obviously the brokers can't take care of 600 over 3 months, so we have a system for that and I'll speak about that in a minute, but going back to what we previously said, I'm pretty sure we've all faced that before. There was a lead who seemed like he was really going to close but then ghost you. So when that happened to us, we knew there was something we could do, a system we could put in place to ensure that that rate is very, very low. You're always going to have leads that seem interested but then all of a sudden disappear, but we want to make sure that's very, very low compared to other brokers out there. And that's the system we built. That's what I want to share here today. So first thing I want to share is our actual booking process. Every time a new lead opts in, once they opt in, they get sent to a form. Now this form for sellers might ask stuff like what's the make, model, and year of your vessel, where is it docked, that sort of thing. After they're sent to a setter call. The setter is not the broker, he's a salesperson who works under the broker. Now what's the setter's goal? First of all, he wants to ensure that they have a real phone number or a real email address or some way we can reach them and it's actually the buyer or seller who opted in. The second goal is to check, is there any form of interest at all? Is this buyer actually looking to buy or did he just click on a cool picture? Does the seller lead actually have a listing he's looking to sell or again, did he just click on a cool ad? After that, if they seem qualified, you then send them over to the closer. Here's where it gets a little tricky because the closer could either be you as the main broker or another sales agent. However, the closer has to be very, very proficient when it comes to yachts. He needs to know every little detail. He has to be able to give a proper appraisal. He has to be able to explain the marketing systems we'll have in place to sell the vessels if you're speaking to seller leads. And in terms of buyers, he has to be able to speak about different types of vessels, speaking about different engines, different hours, different years, different models, and explain what each one has, the specialty of each. And after that, if again they're ready to buy, they obviously have to schedule a showing. For sellers, you could get an e-signed CLA. However, if they're not nudging, they still need a little extra push, you could schedule a physical showing to meet on their vessel and then get that CLA signed. And also, at any point in time, if someone seems not interested, if they seem like a long-term lead, don't just forget about them and delete them from your pipeline. Add them to a long-term follow-up sequence. I already had a video on this explaining what we do and how we're able to consistently get 40 leads opting in again through our email campaigns. However, that's another video, you can check it out on our YouTube channel. Now, this kind of solves the first problem, which is, okay, we had 681 opportunities and our brokers can't really handle all 681, so we had to find a way to pre-qualify them and only send the best of the best to our brokers. But what about the going cold? How about the leads that end up stop replying? To combat that, we actually built a follow-up sequence that has been working wonders for us, and it's this right here. So the most important factor in this entire follow-up sequence is how quick you do the first and second call. Let me explain. So once a lead opts into our ads, they're still hot, they're interested, they want to learn more information. So it's very important that the setter calls them 5 to 10 minutes after they opt in, just to give them time to see the resources we send them, and then get them scheduled in. And another thing is, once you send them over to the closer or the broker, you have to also make sure that they call them 5 to 10 minutes after they book in, or a maximum of 1 to 2 hours. Because sometimes brokers might get a lead and they'll call them 2 days later, 3 days later. But at that point, the lead already forgot who you are, forgot about this completely, and is no longer interested in working with you because he has other options he's going for. So we want to capture them as quickly as possible. And then the other thing is they might not pick up that first call. So you want to call them again 30 minutes later, then a day later, 2 days later, 3 days later, a week later, and if they don't reply to anything, again, don't just delete them from your pipeline, add them to a long-term follow-up sequence. This is very, very crucial. So to basically explain the theory behind this and why it's been very practical for us and why it's worked very well for us, you're basically, first of all, reaching leads quickly. So they don't have the chance to lose interest because you're always on the ball. Another thing is you're always following up with them. I mean, people who buy yachts are typically busy. They're busy people who can't really spend all their time speaking to you and interested in the vessel or following up with you. You have to be the one to follow up. And most brokers will listen to this and say like, that's too pushy, too spammy. They're going to hate me if I do this. We've had more leads thank us for following up with them because they typically forgot about this than leads who got mad at us. So you might think this might ruin your relationship with them, but it actually builds it even better. But now, the other thing I want to cover is, what exactly do we say on the setter scripts, and what do we say on the closer scripts, and basically how do we get these sales through the door? So first thing I want to cover is the setter script, and this is the one for listings, and then I have the one for buyers right there. So the first thing we do is we mention, like, first 5 seconds of the call, you have to mention who you are, why you're calling, and why should they even listen to you. And that's what we do here. We say, hey, this is name from company name. We're calling about the form you filled out to get your Sunseeker listed. Got a minute to chat. And if they basically know who you are, why they should listen to you, and what you're calling for. Once you cover these 3 points, they'll either say, yes, I have some time right now, or they'll be like, nope, this is not him if it's a fake number. Or they'll be like, I don't really have time right now, call me back at X time. But essentially you're bringing out the most important details right off the bat. Now, if they are interested and they are the people you're trying to reach to, so it's an actual real number, not a fake number, this is the process we go through. So the first thing we do is we do what's called an upfront contract, or setting the frame. So the first thing we do is explain what the call is for. For example, the setter will say, all right, all I have to do is just get a few questions, get some more information, so our senior broker can get an accurate appraisal for your vessel. Sound cool? And then they'll be like, sure. And then from here, you're basically given the green light to ask a ton of questions. So the first thing we ask, and the best place to start, is why are they looking to sell this at the moment? Now, the reason we ask this first is based on their answer, it'll decide what we do during the sales process. For example, if someone's looking to upgrade their vessel, it's a very different process than someone who's looking to get out of the yachting industry. So knowing that right off the bat is very important. For example, someone looking to upgrade their vessel wants to be more on board the process. He's more interested in yachts. Someone looking to get out of the industry wants us to be a seamless process. He wants the broker to take care of most of the work and them just sit back and then wait for the yacht to get sold. Next, we're just asking some questions that help us with the appraisal. And just keep in mind, from our form, we already know the make, model, year, and where's it docked. But then we ask them, what's the engine package? How many hours are on it? This is very, very important for the appraisal. Where is it currently docked? Now, this is an important question because on the form, they sometimes say Miami. But here you want to dive deeper. You want to figure out, is it on a trailer? Is it in a slip? Where exactly? What marina is it in? All these different important details. Another one that's also a very important question, and this you as a selling broker needs to know by heart. What makes them want to sell it right now? And the reason we have to dive deeper into this is, as a selling broker, you should be aware of all the faults on the yacht and all the good things on the yacht. So if they say, yeah, I want to sell it because, you know, it's getting pretty old now, it's not really performing as good as it should be, you should be able to know this. So when you're speaking to a buyer, you know of all the faults. Because if the buyer and the buying broker, let's say, figures out faults on their own, they'll basically purposely drop the price. Because, I mean, obviously that's what they do in a survey. However, if you're aware of these problems, you can use them to your advantage because you could basically plan out the sales process. So it's very important that you know the faults in the yachts first and the good points in the yachts. Another important question is, have you tried selling it yourself? If they have, because we've had a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't want to list with a broker. But then they're like, yeah, I've been trying to sell it for 3 months and had no luck. You could then use that and then use that pain to give them a reason to list with you. And the other thing this helps you with is they might be like, yeah, I've reached out to a couple other brokers I'm in contact with, which should raise your alarms, give you that urgency, and want to speak to them quicker. Now, the last thing is just scheduling in a call. Why? Because most leads are busy during the day. However, if they have a time when they're expecting a call, that's why it's helpful. Now, typically we give a day to do appraisals. However, if you could do this call an hour later, do that. Tell your setter, hey, schedule that call an hour later. I'll get the appraisal ready. I'll get the whole sales process ready, and I'll call them. But obviously, make sure your setter gets a time, not only a date. So tell the lead, all right, so our senior broker will call you today at 2 p.m. Eastern. Sounds good? Sure. Perfect. Schedule it in. Right, now that's for sellers. Now I want to dive into like the buyer scripts and the buyer process. Now this is for a specific listing. Let's say we're marketing our CRA 510 Fly. The first call, again, who we are, why we're calling, why should they listen to us. This is AJ with company name. I was calling about the form you filled out showing interest in our CRA 510 Fly. Does that ring a bell? They'll either be like, yes, I filled that form out, or no, this is not even client name, please don't call me again because it's a fake number. And obviously the setter has to figure these out first. And then from there, they can either say yes, they're interested, or they're just looking. From here, we send them more information, add them to our email campaign, because obviously they're just looking, they won't be able to buy right now. However, let's say they said, yes, that does ring a bell, I am interested. The next question we ask is, are you interested in buying a yacht at the moment? Now this question, notice my note here, sometimes lead will give you an answer to this already. For example, we've found this is like 80% of our calls. After we say this, they're always like, yeah, I saw some of your videos and your pictures, they seem pretty cool. The yacht's in my budget as well. We're just trying to give you, we're trying to opt in, get more images, and maybe schedule a showing to get more information. So boom, we don't even need this anymore. Sorry about that. But let's say they are looking to buy a yacht at the moment. Awesome. So we have an automation in place that sends them an email with a brochure as well as the web page that we have set up for them. So the first thing we ask is, hey, were you able to check out the email we sent with the yacht's information? And the reason this is important is if they have, that means they probably know stuff about it. They know how many staterooms, they know how many hours, they know where it's docked, they know the year, they know everything about it because it's all on that webpage and on that brochure. If they say no, we have to go over that specifically. Let's say they say yes. So we want to, first of all, get what they think about it, what they feel about it. is it a vessel they're interested in? And from here, I can't really script out what to say because it depends on the response. Like they might be like, for our Seaway 510 for example, it's a 2015 model, which means it's pretty old, So most leads came on the call and were like, I really liked it. I love the amount of rooms. It seems like spacious. It seems like a perfect vessel for me. However, it's pretty old, and has a lot of hours on it. And so I'm prepared for this. So then we're like, oh yeah, look, I'll be honest, it is a pretty old vessel. However, it's perfect for the family, blah, 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 blah. Perfect for long trips if you're going to the Bahamas and stuff like that. And over here, you just want to really show them that you understand them and you understand their problems and you understand what they're looking for. And then once you do that, they basically know that you're a professional and they'll defer to you. And then from there, you want to schedule a showing because if they're interested, if they seem like they want to buy it, the next thing you want to do is show them the vessel and then try to get that deposit. Now, let's say they did not check out the email, you have to be responsible for going through that information. For example, again, an upfront contract. We're like, no worries, we can go over some details, and if it seems interesting to you, I could get you set up for a showing. Sounds good? They'll be like, sure. And then you say, so yeah, it's a 2015 Series 510 Fly, very good condition, honestly, like a perfect vessel for its price range. And then from there, you want to ask them a question. Never speak for too long because the lead will lose interest. So from there, we're like, just curious, are you looking for any specific features on your vessel, like a fly bridge or a certain number of cabins, etc.? And then from there, they'll start speaking and they'll start selling you on the vessel, basically, or selling themselves on the vessel. They'll be like, okay, I want 3 cabins, a fly bridge. And they're like, yeah, perfect. Our vessel has that. And then they're like, oh, what do you want to use it for? Family, perfect. This vessel is perfect for family, has a lot of space, go to the Bahamas and back comfortably. And then that's when we start selling them by having them speak. And then from there, we tell them, okay, let's say we have the perfect listing for you. And I feel like we do. What would you say is your budget for this at the moment? Now, if they say that, okay, it's 700,000 and that matches your vessel, you go through this and just schedule a showing. If they say no, then you obviously have to sell them on other listings. So you tell them that, okay, the Seaway is listed at, let's say, $1 million. So it's probably out of your budget range. However, we have some other listings you might be interested in. So do you want me to email you some information about those and then we could get another call to go over them? And then from there, you can either pass it on to the broker. So if the broker is currently active and has listings on hand, pass them over. If not, then book them in for like, let's say a couple hours later so we can get some listings ready. Right, so now this was the setting process, basically how to book in leads with the broker. Now the other thing I want to cover is what the broker has to do. So this is for listing leads. As for buyer leads, this varies from broker to broker and I'll speak about that. But for listing leads, this is how it typically goes. We start off by saying, hey, John, this is AJ with 365 Yachts. He spoke to one of my representatives about getting your Sunseeker appraised and sold. Does that ring a bell? They'll be like, yeah, sure. And then we instantly hit them with an upfront contract. Have you noticed a pattern so far? Every call starts off with explaining who we are, why we're calling, and why they should listen to us. And then the next thing is an upfront contract, explaining them how the call goes so they can know what to expect. So an upfront contract, we say, look, we're going to give you a full appraisal of your vessel, explain to you what we would list it at and how much it's probably going to get sold at. And then from there, we could dive into why we're different, our marketing systems, and how we can get it sold. So here I can't really script out the appraisal as well because it depends on the vessel. What we recommend is find the lowest priced yacht at the market, find the highest priced yacht at the market, find what previously sold yachts have been sold for, and then recommend a starting price or a listing price, and then tell them it's probably not going to be sold at this, it's going to be sold at this price. So get that all ready and then explain that here. And don't just explain the numbers, explain why. Right, so moving on, once you agree on a listing price that would be fair for like the seller as well as the market, now this is very important. Before I move on, I have to stress on this. So going for a listing price and explaining it is probably a very crucial point of the step, not only to get the listing right now, but also to make your life easier 3 months down the line. The reason I say that is, first of all, if you undercut the listing price, the seller probably won't go with you. I mean, they want to get as much value as they can. And if you overprice it, he might be very happy and want to list with you compared to any broker out there, but 3 months down the line, when you're asking for a price cut, they're going to be like, but you told me it would sell at this price. So it's very important that you first of all set the expectations right, but also be fair with the seller so they can list with you as well. So it's all about finding that balance rather than over-promising or under-promising. But once you agree on the price, the seller thinks it's fair, the next step is to explain why you're the best broker. So from here, we're like, okay, listing at this price is the best. The reason being is XYZ. And then from here, I want to explain why we're the best broker out there. So have you spoken to any other brokers? They might say yes or no. Both ways. You're then going to have to dive deep into why listing with you is 10 times better than anyone else out there. Now, I can't script this as well. It varies from broker to broker and depending your efforts on why you're important and why you're the best broker to list with. And obviously, everyone has their advantages. And if you can't answer this question, I recommend you close this video right now, go brainstorm why listing leads should sell with you compared to any other broker out there. Why? Because every person has their advantage, every broker has their advantage, and the seller lead has to look through each broker's advantages and select which one works best for him. I'll give you an example. I've had many brokers or many brokers ask me, how is it possible that we're getting a lot of listing leads and those listing leads are not going with all the bigger companies like HMY or Denison or those bigger companies? And I feel like our specialty and the reason that listing leads come to us and is because we convey this very well. It's because we can give specialized attention. I had a seller yesterday I was on the phone with, and he was asking me, he was like, why should I even list with you? I was speaking to the project manager who's responsible for building this vessel that I own. So why should I list with you and not him? And so I explained to him two main reasons. First of all, because we give specialized attention. I'll be honest, we're not a multi-million-dollar company. We don't have hundreds of listings at the moment, but that's an advantage to us because we can give you specialized attention. And his vessel, he was kind of overpricing it because of all the upgrades he had, which is fair because the upgrades he had was worth that price. So I told him, with a vessel like yours, you need specialized attention. Because once buyers opt in and they're like, why is this so overpriced? We have to convey this value and show them the upgrades that we have. With a broker who has 50 listings or 20 listings, they won't give that specialized attention, but we would. And then the other things I dived into was our marketing. I mean, our company has a very comprehensive marketing strategy. We go through social media, we go through Google, we go through emails, we do every single thing possible. So I conveyed that to him, and at the end of the call, the seller was like, you know what, just end this call, send me the CLA, I want to sign on right now. He literally said that. So this is probably the most important part of the listing process, because if the seller doesn't have conviction in you, and they don't believe that you're the best person to list with, they probably won't list. And that's probably the top reason they go cold, because they don't see the value in it. But obviously, if you convince the seller that you're the best and they want to list with you, they want you more than you want them, that's when they're going to start listing with you.